Hey, this is Chris with Dishmaster. I'm here today to go over the installation procedure for an M70 Sapphire model faucet. Included in that carton when you get it is going to be a packet of information with the manual and installation instructions, along with your warranty registration form. Please don't throw that paperwork out. Take a look at it. It's good stuff. It's more than just packing material. Then you're going to have the faucet itself. It will have already assembled the supply lines and an accessory hose. Supply lines are 3/8 compression fittings so that you know what you need under your sink to get things hooked up. Installed on that faucet are going to be the tube nut with screws for mounting it to your countertop, along with the metal support washer and a rubber washer. Those are going to come off first thing for your installation. Then you'll have your hose and wand assembly, detergent tank assembly and detergent tube, and a check valve assembly that hooks all that stuff up. New brushes that come with every one of our faucets. And then you've got a hose guide and a escutcheon that go on your countertop, and a hose guide nut that holds that in place. And then some extension parts. This is just in case your countertop is a little bit thicker and you need some extra reach to get that hose guide mounted up. These are some example installations for your Sapphire faucet. It can be mounted on your sink in just about any configuration you like. We suggest no closer than 4-inch centers between the mounting holes, and avoid putting the brush or some other accessory right up against the main mixer valve. The first thing for your installation is to make sure you remove the washer, the support ring, and the tube nut with screws from the base of the faucet. And make sure that those screws are backed out of the tube nut enough so that they're not extending up past that surface. Next, you're going to feed the hoses down through the hole you've selected for installation of the faucet. And once the faucet is seated on your countertop, you're going to place the rubber washer, the metal support ring, and the brass mounting nut onto the hoses. Slide them all the way up and tighten the nut onto the mounting tube. And you're going to get that nut just tight enough really to hold everything in place until you have the faucet positioned exactly where you want it to be permanently on your countertop. You don't want to tighten that nut off all the way. But once you do have the faucet positioned where you like it, you might have a little bit of wiggle room on your countertop and make sure it's twisted correctly. Then you can finish tightening that nut. A good tool to do that with is called a basin wrench. It's fairly inexpensive. You can pick that up at most of your local hardware stores or find it on the internet, but that'll help you reach up behind the sink and give you plenty of reach to tighten a nut like that. Once you've got that good and tight with your basin wrench, then you can finish tightening it into place by tightening those 2 screws up against the underside of your sink or countertop. And to do that, you're going to use either a number 2 Phillips or a 5/16 nut driver. Next, we'll install the hose guide into the escutcheon and place those 2 items in their hole in the countertop. If you need some extra reach going through your countertop, if your countertop is thicker than about 1.3 inches, then you may need to add on the extension kit parts that we included with your faucet. If that is the case, once those are put together, you're going to put the white piece on there, screw that on till it stops, and then add the black extension tube onto the bottom. That will allow you to put that down through your countertop, gives you a lot of extra reach there. Could be too much reach actually, so in that case, if the nut won't tighten up past that white part, you're going to add on some of these rings that we've included as spacers to take up that extra space. But we're going to assume most people don't need those items. So with that tube in the escutcheon, you're just going to put that mounting tube nut on the bottom there, and we're going to treat it just like we did the faucet, which is to say, before you tighten it all the way, you're going to make sure that it is positioned exactly where you want it. So move it around as necessary in the hole that you're mounting it in, and then finish tightening that nut down. Again, basin wrench, by far the easiest way to go. Now we're going to remove the label from the end of the check valve housing, and making sure that the seal is still in place inside there, we're going to screw that onto the accessory hose. If you need help getting that tight, make sure you squeeze the fitting on the end of the hose with your pliers to hold it in place, not the hose itself. And then feed the free end of your hose down through the hose guide and seat the handle. And then you can apply just a little bit of lubricant to the barbed end of the check valve housing. I'm using silicone plumber's grease. You can also just use some dish soap if you like. And that will help to lube that up so that the hose slips on easily, and push it all the way up to the shoulder. Make sure whenever you install that hose you don't have any crazy twist in it, and that you don't loop it around any drain pipes or water lines underneath your sink. And to attach the soap tube and the tank, we're going to do similar to what we did with the barbed fitting, and we're going to apply just a little bit of lubricant to the end of the copper tube and to the end of the clear tube that's sticking out of your tank lid. Then you can push the soap tube onto that U-shaped tube coming out of the tank lid. You want the overlap to be about 3/4 of an inch. And then the copper tube goes into the smaller portion of your black hose. And again, about a 3/4 inch overlap. And remember, just like you did with the black hose, you want to make sure that the soap tube isn't looped around any drains or water lines. You want to be able to freely grab that tank from out under your cabinet and move it up to your countertop or sink to fill it, so that you don't have to do all that work later on sitting on the floor. The last step before you attach your water lines to the shutoff valves under your sink is please flush your household water lines. You can do that by hooking an old supply line up to your shutoff valve and point that into a bucket and open each shutoff valve. Let that run until you don't see any more sediment or just anything in the water. Make sure it's running clear. Then turn that off, remove the old water line, attach these. We've got red one for hot, blue for cold, 3/8 compression. And once those are hooked up, remove the aerator from the end of the spout. Make sure you get the seal off of there, and then in turn open each the hot and the cold, and just slowly turn that on. Shift between hot and cold. Make sure the flow's coming out good. You don't see any sediment or anything coming through. Check underneath your sink for leaks in the lines at the fittings, and then you can turn that off. Reattach your aerator. And your faucet's ready for use. You can fill your detergent tank. Fill that first with warm water, and then add about 3 tablespoons of detergent of your choice. Just don't use anything with lotion or citrus additives. And then you can adjust that to your own taste if you want a little more suds or a little less suds. If you have any questions, please give us a call at 800-521-9234. We can be reached via email at sales@dishmasterfaucet.com, or you can send us a direct message on Facebook or Instagram. Thank you.